Back in 2000, Nintendo introduced American Poke-Freaks to the second installments in the Pokemon franchise, Pokemon Gold and Silver. 10 years later, Nintendo revisits these classics in the form of a remake. The awkwardly titled Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver arrive with new visuals, new features, and a new peripheral. But with the core mechanics unchanged, are they different enough to warrant a trip down memory lane? The Pokemon games have never really been about sweeping drama, and Soul Silver is no different. You're a young boy or girl from a small village who is all but forced into becoming a Pokemon trainer because there's something special about you. You'll pick out your first Pokemon companion, and then it's off to take on the 8 gym leaders en route to battling the Elite Four and the eventual Pokemon champion. Of course, a pesky organization of misfits is out to mess things up, but their efforts are both inept and pathetic. It's incredibly predictable and shallow, and if it sounds familiar, that's because it's pretty much the same premise of every main title in the series. Even after all these years, the basic Pokemon formula has gone largely untouched. Soul Silver gives veterans a serious case of déjà vu from start till finish. Travel around the world, fight trainers and gym leaders, and capture wild Pokemon, all in the name of becoming a Pokemon master. The remake remains faithful to the source material, but modernizes a few of the mechanics in order to make the game more accessible to newcomers. It's subtle enough to keep the experience fresh, but don't expect an entirely new game. Like the original, there's a ton of content packed into the experience, including an entirely new region with its own gym leaders and side quests waiting after the ending. Some new additions have also been thrown in to keep things fresh, such as the Pokeathlon, complete with mini-games for your Pokemon to compete in. Even the Battle Frontier makes a return, though it's virtually identical to the area found in Platinum. And for the most part, you're free to tackle whatever your heart desires at your leisure. The Wi-Fi functionality also makes a return, allowing trainers to battle or trade Pokemon locally or online. While playing somebody nearby is relatively painless, it's still somewhat of a hassle to get an online match going. Trainers need to input friend codes before they can battle, and the lack of a lobby system to facilitate random duels is a pain. At least the voice chat functionality remains intact for the friends-only battles. Both versions of the game also come bundled with the Pokewalker peripheral, but it's more of a gimmick you'll try out once and forget about. Just getting through the Johto region will take 20 or so hours easily, while completing the Kanto region after will nearly double that. Throw in the countless multiplayer matches, additional side quests, and of course, the time it takes to obtain every Pokemon possible, and you're easily getting more than your money's worth in playtime. While there are several distractions in Soul Silver, be prepared to spend countless hours engaged in random encounters. The combat remains intact and untouched, and it's still one of the deepest systems out there. Though it's devoid of any real-time mechanics, and it ultimately comes down to tapping icons, battles are highly strategic in nature. Remedial battles become bothersome. It's the fights against tougher opponents, especially other human players, that prove most satisfying. That said, the way in which many of the battles unfold stands as the most annoying element. Get ready to endure countless random encounters, which become so frequent at points you can hardly walk a few steps without getting attacked. It's worse in the early segments when you have to walk to each destination, and though you eventually unlock the ability to warp to locations, there will remain many areas that can only be reached by walking. The mini-games present are the few activities that require stylus input, and the controls for these are a bit clumsy. Otherwise, the rest of the game gives you the option to use traditional controls in conjunction with optional stylus input. The action is top-notch, even though the combat system remains the same it's always been. Pokemon veterans will notice that everything feels familiar, yet new at the same time. It's a particularly nice touch that one of your Pokemon will follow you around on your journeys. Many of the classic tunes have been updated, though there are some holdovers. The soundtrack is still very catchy, but the same can't be said for the sound effects. Even after all this time, the Pokemon grunts and cries sound like crap, and many are just flat out painful to the ears. If only Nintendo would give us the option to turn their incessant battle cries off. Sure, it's the same old Pokemon formula that's largely been untouched for over a decade, but Pokemon Soul Silver is the best the series has to offer. It's the perfect game to jump into the series if you're a newcomer, and the updates and new content are enough to keep veterans satisfied.